Grand Tourer injection. GTI for short. If, like me, you're a hot hatchback fan, these three letters are bound to get the blood pumping. It also brings to mind one of the biggest hot hatch icons, the Peugeot 205 GTI. This is arguably one of the best hot hatches ever to grace the earth, but that's in the past. Between then and now, Peugeot hasn't always got it right in the hot hatch department. But what about this, the 308 GTI? Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not comparing this car to the 205 because that would be rather unfair. For starters, this is a bigger car and it's heavier because it has all of the mod cons and safety features that we demand nowadays. The reason why I mention the 205 is because I want to ask a question. Is this car a return to form? Well, let's find out. So let's start with the engine, and it's a rather interesting one. Now, normally in this class, you would have a 2 litre turbocharged petrol, or if it's a Renault Megane RS, a 1.8 litre turbocharged petrol. But Peugeot, quite bravely, has opted for a 1.6 litre turbocharged petrol unit. So you may think that it's down on power compared to its rivals, but you'd be wrong. So it kicks out 268 brake horsepower with 313 Newton meters of torque. Power is fed to a 6-speed manual gearbox. I'm afraid there's no option for an auto, so if you do want a hot hatch with an auto, you will of course need to look elsewhere. And power is fed to the front wheels. But what about performance? After all, that's really what matters in these kind of cars. So you will hit 62 miles per hour in 6 seconds dead, which is faster than a Volkswagen Golf GTI and also faster than a Hyundai i30N Performance. But it's not quite as fast as a Renault Megane RS or a Seat Leon Cupra 300. It will continue to a top speed of 155 miles per hour, which is the same as a Golf GTI and a Hyundai i30N. And let me tell you, this car simply doesn't hang about. Now, yes, there is a little bit of turbo lag, if I'm going to be honest, but it's nothing too major. Now, not only should a hot hatch be fast, but it should sound good as well. And in truth, it kind of feels like the 308 GTI is a bit ashamed about what it is. Now, the reason why I say that is because it does sound rather muted. So I'm at 3,000 revs now. Let me give it a bit more. It all sounds a little bit, well, muted. And then we've got the controls, which are rather light if you ask me. The gear change is light and it lacks precision, which is really disappointing for a car such as this. The ride is pretty compliant as well. Yes, it is a bit jiggly, but it's a hot hatchback, so it will have firm suspension. But fear not, you won't need to have your osteopath on speed dial. And because this car is so accomplished at going long distances, so I drove this to Manchester and back with no complaints whatsoever, dare I say this car feels more like a fast GT car rather than a red-blooded hot hatchback. Another area I'm not too sure on is this steering wheel. So as with other Peugeot models, you get this almost laughably small steering wheel, and the idea is that you look at the dials over the steering wheel rather than through it. And in theory, that does work, but of course that depends on 2 factors. Firstly, your height, and secondly, your preference for driving position. So for me, when I'm driving, the top of the steering wheel cuts off the bottom part of the dials, which it's not a deal breaker, but it's not ideal, and it does take getting used to. Whilst I'm having a moan about things about this car, the touchscreen is simply too fiddly to operate whilst you're moving. So if I want to access the climate control, take aim, ready, fire. Oh, I've completely missed. There we are. And Oh, I've missed again. And the climate control is on. But yes, it is quite a faff to operate when you're moving, and in truth, you spend more time looking at the touchscreen than you do at the road, which is quite dangerous if you ask me. And when you open the door without having the parking brake engaged, you get this really annoying siren reminding you that you've left the door open, as I shall now demonstrate. So, let's come to a stop, like so, and open the door. Shut up! Why? Why have that feature? I know the door's open. I can see it's... Oh, it's really annoying. Now, I'm not being funny. Who would drive along not knowing that their door is open? I can't imagine someone doing this. Oh, it's lovely and breezy today. Oh, I wonder why that is. Oh, I've left my door open. How foolish of me. It wouldn't happen. So Peugeot, that is a safety feature that simply really isn't needed. So annoying. So once again, it looks as if it's another fast Peugeot that hasn't quite hit the mark. Well, not quite. There is one button that changes everything. In sport mode, the 308 GTI feels alive. It feels like you've woken up a dragon after its slumber. The non-vocal engine finally finds a voice, although the sound is pumped into the cabin, which some may dislike, but I'm quite a fan of it. The dials also glow a vibrant red, which is welcome, although it does mean that you can't really see the red line because, well, it's all red. Oh yes. That's more like it. Hello. That's how this car should behave. It should be raughty. It should be a little bit naughty as well. As you would expect, the throttle has become more responsive, the steering has become heavier, and this car finally feels like it's got its dancing shoes on. So with that in mind, let's show it some corners. See, this is how this car should perform, and the grip is phenomenal. So wrapped around each of the 19-inch alloys, you've got Michelin Pilot Super Sport tyres, and I have to say they are doing a fantastic job, and you've also got a limited slip differential for good measure, and you can really feel the car pulling its way around each corner. Also, I have to say, these brakes are fantastic. They really, really are. They inspire lots of confidence, which is exactly what you need in a performance car. They are simply tremendous. Peugeot, I take my hat off to you. Well, I would take my hat off to you if I were wearing one, because you have done a brilliant job with these brakes. Top work. It's agile and nimble too, thanks to a curb weight of just 1,205 kilograms, which is considerably lighter than its rivals, and it's not that much heavier than its little brother, the 208 GTI. Now, it's not all perfect in here. I will say that although the steering has got a good weight to it and it is properly responsive and direct, it's not the most talkative. I would like a bit more communication. It's not awful by any means, but yes, I would like a bit more interaction between car and driver. Now, whilst I'm on the topic of things not being completely perfect, sometimes you will find that if you go into a corner with poor camber or a poor surface, you will feel the steering wheel tug in your hands a little bit, which is by no means dangerous or disconcerting. It's more of an observation. Now, let's talk practicality. I know it's not the sexiest subject, but this is a hatchback after all, so it still needs to be able to do the boring but important day-to-day stuff. The boot is more land generous, offering 470 litres, making it one of the biggest in class, which can be extended to over 1,300 litres with the 60/40 rear seats folded down. The only downside is there is quite a pronounced lip. The back seats are more cramped than you may expect, meaning that it won't be a great place for taller passengers, although smaller adults and children will be fine of course, and there are the obligatory ISOFIX points. There's a decent amount of cubby holes in the cabin, but it would be nice to have some dedicated cup holders rather than having to improvise, plus the glove box is rather small. So let's talk about price. The whole idea of a hot hatchback is that it should be affordable. This car starts from £29,050, which is around £1,500 more than a Hyundai i30N Performance, but it's around £1,500 cheaper than the equivalent Golf GTI. So it's not too badly priced, and you do get a lot for your money. You get a 9.7-inch touchscreen, navigation, Bluetooth, DAB radio, smartphone connectivity, dual zone climate control, automatic lights and wipers, full LED headlights, massaging seats, front and rear parking sensors, keyless entry, keyless start. Frankly, the list goes on and on and on. Also, a hot hatchback should be relatively cheap to run as well. But what about the GTI? Well, on a combined run of fuel economy, you can expect up to 47.1 miles to the gallon, which I think is really good. And it's the advantage of having a smaller engine. It's more frugal and it emits less CO2. So it emits 139 grams per kilometre, meaning for the first year of VED, you would pay £205. So to answer my original question, is the Peugeot 308 GTI a return to form? You know what? Yes, I really think it is. Okay, yes, it's got its own quirks, and when all is said and done, it's not the best car in its class. However, it's stylish, fast, comfortable, practical-ish, offers a good level of equipment, it won't cost a fortune to run, and it puts a massive smile on your face. And what more do you want from a hot hatch? Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a massive thumbs up. Don't forget to click that bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video, and if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe for more car obsession.